What is the most in-demand skill set and job role in decommissioning at the moment, would you say, in this market?
So I think the good thing about decom is there's a lot of transferable skills, which we do want to highlight. You know, people who are in sectors of oil and gas and energy sector at the moment, there's a lot of roles in decommissioning operations where those skills can be fairly easily transferred or retraining available, and that's something we're keen to push. What I would say is an area that really needs focus is the wells. You know, the wells aspect and plugging and abandonment is about 50% of the cost. So for the next 10 years, you know, a 10 billion cost there alone. And in terms of the well P&A and the drilling skills, plugging and abandonment, that niche and expertise, whilst we do have that in the basin, it's an aging workforce with a lot of those skill sets. Trying to get young people and new people and talent from other industries and other backgrounds in to train for plugging and abandonment isn't necessarily as exciting, perhaps, on the face of it as some of the other opportunities. And the other important point there, I think, is as well as the decommissioning, plugging and abandonment, it's very similar skill sets to what we need for realising the CCS potential. The same people who are looking at plugging and abandonment of wells for decommissioning are going to be helping design and ready those for carbon capture and storage applications. So it's vital not just for decommissioning, but for the UK to really, you know, unleash what it can in terms of the carbon storage opportunities. We need that skill set in particular in the wells space.
So you and your organisation will be doing what you can through your channels to try and encourage and educate that future workforce towards this fundamental sector. Who else needs to raise their game somewhat to alleviate that challenge of talent pipeline and skills pipeline into the market?
I mean, there's a lot of good initiatives out there. You know, we hear them talked about at most conferences and seminars, and there's different ways of doing that, whether it's targeting leavers from other industries, whether it's getting into schools and universities, offering the retraining opportunities. I think maybe it's not the lack of effort, maybe it's just still the struggle we have with perception. You know, in some parts of the UK, even in some universities and schools, oil and gas is still a difficult phrase, and decommissioning is associated with oil and gas, whereas energy transition opens a few more doors. And so selfishly, from a decommissioning point of view, I think we want to highlight, as I said earlier, that it's an enabler for decarbonisation. You know, we can't get to net zero without it, both in terms of actually decommissioning the existing assets to reduce our emissions and to work towards that target, but also empowering the supply chain, building the skills and having the knowledge and expertise here to move forward. So I don't think it's a case of others not doing enough. I think it's still trying to break down barriers and common misperceptions and actually show that not only is it exciting, not only is there a huge amount of work ahead of us, but it's a real enabler for future energy transition projects.
Yeah, and we made a commitment at the last E-FWD event to bring forward more university members to the E-FWD community. And I think if you're watching this and you're working in the university sector, you must come down and join us at our next event and get plugged into our insights, because the trends that are shaping up the future jobs that your students and future students will need to be looking at for future opportunity are being discussed in real time in these rooms. And there are huge opportunities for growth and development in this sector that seem to be slipping off the radar and must be brought to the top of the agenda.